I got an amazing question today from a viewer who asked, how would I, as a financial advisor, design my retirement if I had to retire early at age 55 and I had $500,000? I thought it was a really amazing question. I rarely talk about my own retirement, my own finances. Financial advisors rarely talk about our own financial situation because A, it's about the client, but B, there's a lot of things that we do in our own financial situations that we would never advise our clients to do. I actually was up to the challenge, and so I got the trusty HB10 calculator and got to work and designed my own retirement at age 55 with $500,000. I'm going to switch over to my computer in a moment. There's a few things I want to emphasize. This is not financial advice. Please do not take this as financial advice. If you need financial advice, please go see a certified financial planner or a financial advisor and have them run your own numbers. This is purely for entertainment and education purposes. Don't follow what I do. Like I said, there are things that financial advisors do in our own finances that we would never advise our clients to do. And if you have questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section. I think some really good information and questions and comments are being generated in this discussion about the possibility of early retirement on 500,000. So here I am at my computer, and before I get started, there's a few things that I want to disclose. First things first, this is video 4 of 4. If this is a fourth video in a sequence, if this is the first video that you're seeing, I suggest you go back and watch the other videos, the other 3 videos in this sequence. There's a lot of good information in there. It'll answer a lot of questions, and I'll be referring back to those videos frequently throughout my video. So just remember that this is fourth in a sequence of 4. There are 3 videos before that, and you may need to watch the other videos before watching and understanding this video. Second thing, I don't believe in early retirement as a concept. I don't believe in retirement at 55 with 500,000. I don't think that's in most people's financial best interest. I would not do it this myself. If I had the opportunity to continue working, I would continue working. But I also understand that sometimes things just happen. You may be forced out of the workforce. You may have health issues. You may have family issues. There may be just a set of circumstances that comes along and takes you out of the traditional workforce, and you just have to go with it. So this isn't something I would advise a client to do. This isn't something I would do myself, but I fully understand that life happens to people. Third thing is there are things that I'm doing in my own portfolio that I would never advise a client to do. Why? Because some things that I choose to do they require a very sophisticated level of knowledge about the investment, or sometimes it requires that you are licensed to participate in certain investments, or it's an unacceptable level of risk for the client. The things that financial advisors do all the time in our own portfolio, in our own financial lives, that we would just never tell a client to do. And so there are certain things that I would do in managing my own money in retirement that I would never do or advise a client to do. So I am taking on a different strata of risk. I am not directly advising anyone. Do not take this as financial advice to do what I am doing. If you are not a licensed financial advisor, I would not do some of the things that I am doing in retirement. So the first thing that I wanted to point out, in the prior examples in sequence 1 through 3, the individual basically had $500,000 all in a traditional IRA account. I would never have all my retirement in a traditional IRA account because that account is 100% taxable. So I did a more reasonable split here. I said I have 300,000 in a traditional IRA account, 100,000 in a Roth, 100,000 in a brokerage account. Let me actually just change that. But I basically would have different allocation than I initially presented in the example. There are a lot of people who are walking around with 100% of their retirement dollars sitting in a traditional 401k or traditional IRA, either because they don't know what the Roth IRA is, they don't understand the difference between a Roth and traditional, or they don't understand the impact of taxes on retirement. I would choose to have a different breakdown in my own personal life. 300,000 traditional IRA, 100,000 Roth IRA, 100,000 brokerage, which equals $500,000 in various retirement accounts. The next thing that I would say is there's something I'm doing a little bit different. I did a 60-40 split in the examples I use. For my own personal accounts, I actually, there are accounts I have that are 100% equities. In retirement or as I get older, I likely will go towards a more aggressive stance, especially if the market has been returning record highs like it's been returning in past 8 years or so. I have an 80-20 split, and I probably will keep an 80-20 split throughout my entire life simply because I'm more comfortable controlling the assets that I have in retirement, and I'm more comfortable assuming a more aggressive level of risk because I'm managing my own money in retirement. I would not do that for an average retiree. There are a few clients that choose to go more aggressive with an 80-20 split, but that is a detailed conversation, often a signed disclosure that they understand they are taking on a different level of risk. And most clients who are in the retirement wheelhouse choose not to accept that level of risk if it is offered to them. So I wanted to point that out. The return numbers will be different because I'm going 80-20 instead of 60-40. Third thing I want to point out is that this home, I would sell this home in San Francisco. There is no way I would be able to keep up, even if the mortgage is paid off by the time I'm 55. There's no way I can keep up with just the property tax, maintenance, insurance on a home in San Francisco if I'm retiring at age 55 with $500,000 in various retirement accounts. I would likely clear money from the sale of my home. I'm going to keep it clean and just not include it in this projection. But yeah, I would not continue living in San Francisco. I would not keep this home. There's no way I would be able to continue living in San Francisco and keep the home, even if it is paid off, because the property tax, maintenance, and insurance on homes in San Francisco is very, very expensive. I also want to point out, I intend by the time I'm 55 to have income from YouTube. I'm creating these videos because I'm really passionate about financial advising and I really do love my job. But one of the benefits of being a YouTube content creator is that content creators can monetize. And I'm hoping over time, this will provide some income to me in later years from my content creation and from my catalog of videos. So technically, like I said, I'm not retired. I'm just shifting gears. And instead of being a full-time wealth manager, financial advisor, I'm basically a full-time content creator for YouTube and sharing my financial advisor that I acquired over my career with the viewers and with my community and with my subscribers. So let's get into it. My average monthly spend is anywhere from $3,500 to $10,000 a month. This is taking into account inflation. First things first, if I had to retire at age 55 and I had $500,000 in various accounts for retirement, I would sell this home in San Francisco. I would sell pretty much everything in the home, including my car. I would get 2 suitcases and a one-way ticket, and I would go to Europe. And I have lived in Europe before. There was a period of time I lived in Europe for about 4 years. I'm very comfortable living abroad. For this example, let's say I go to Barcelona. Barcelona, it has a much lower cost of living than San Francisco, even though it has become elevated in the past several years. I would work as a content creator for YouTube, sharing financial knowledge. I would take Spanish lessons during the day. I would have to work out the visa and all kinds of situations like that. I would get a small apartment where I lived alone, either in the heart of Barcelona, which I learned is actually quite expensive. The rents have really skyrocketed in Barcelona. Average rent on a one bedroom in central Barcelona is anywhere from 1,400 euros to 1,600 euros a month. Or I would just rent something slightly outside of Barcelona and just take public transportation in. They have safe and reliable public transportation in Barcelona. But basically, at 55 with $500,000, I could not afford to live in San Francisco, and there are many places I could not afford to live in the United States. I would have to leave the Bay Area and the United States for a period of time so that I could live more frugally based on the income that I'm bringing in from YouTube and from my retirement accounts. So let me actually have the big reveal here and show you what I would do. So in arriving in Barcelona, like I said, I would rent a one-bedroom apartment either in central Barcelona if I really wanted to splash out, or just outside of Barcelona. I would take Spanish lessons, I would create content, and essentially, I would basically try to minimize the amount of money in the early years that I am taking from my retirement accounts. I would take $18,000 a year, which is $1,500 a month, combined with my $2,000 a month, God willing, I would be earning from YouTube. That gives me a monthly income of $3,500 a month. If I live within parameters and don't splash out, I think I can make that work in Barcelona, even today. So once again, I'm looking at historical data going back 20 years. I only went back 20 years because beyond that, economic policies changed, which changed market performance. So I don't think it's relevant to today. But let's say 2003 was the first year. On an 80-20 portfolio, I would have almost a 24% rate of return. I take out $18,000. Let's say I take it out at the beginning of the year instead of the end of the year. I would have $482,000 when I took out that $18,000. And then when I go into year two, I would have almost a 10% return. I'd take out $18,540. By that point, I would have $578,079.60. So I would be jamming along. I would be pretty happy about this. I would be pretty happy that despite the fact that I'm taking out money, my balances in the retirement accounts are increasing. So let's go to 2008, the bear in the room. And here we go. Wait, 2008, actually 2009. Okay. 2008, 2009, boom, this is where the bear enters the market. So I almost had 700,000 as my account balance, and it pancaked down to 481,000. Now, I would be taking some maneuvers here in this 80-20 portfolio. During down markets or periods of terrible times in the market, sometimes we change around where we're taking money. For example, in 2008, maybe I would not touch the equity side of my portfolio. I would be touching the money market and the bond side of my portfolio because it's diminished less. In 2022, it wouldn't really matter because both the stock and the bond market went down at the same time. But basically, I would be feng shuiing my portfolio and taking resources from certain parts of my portfolio that were least affected in 2008, but I would be concerned if my portfolio went from 700,000 to 481,000. Something that you may not know about me is that I am actually certified to teach English abroad. And when I went abroad many years ago, about 15 years ago at this point, I actually taught English, which was a really, really fun experience. And I lived in Europe. I taught English in Germany and in Denmark. I'm still certified to do so. To be perfectly honest, teaching English was one of my best working experiences besides being a financial advisor and wealth manager. I would have no problem going back to teaching English abroad at age 61 in Barcelona. 12 to 15 euros an hour, it's fine, but it's just bringing in extra money and keeping me active in the community and doing something I really enjoy and really have enjoyed in the past and really would enjoy in the future. So probably 2008, 2009, I would be looking for a job. If I didn't get a job, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I still have my YouTube income, but I would be concerned here and I would be feng shuiing things around to lessen the burn. So money started coming back. So this is good. This is good. Now, here at age 67 is where I start drawing Social Security. And my Social Security, because of my current income, is really good. My Social Security will probably be about $3,700 a month at age 67. This is not inflated for inflation. There's also a big drop here in the account value. This is not due to market performance. This is due to me coming back to the US. As much as I love Barcelona, as much as I love Spain, I don't think I want to spend the rest of my life in Barcelona and Spain. I think at some point I want to come back to the US, preferably California if the pocketbook says so. But if not California, somewhere else in the United States. It takes money to come back to the US. And there is a pretty big drop between 2014, 2015 here, because I probably would take some money out of the accounts to buy a home. I want to own a home in retirement and just pay property tax, maintenance, and insurance. Um, I have mixed thoughts about San Francisco. I love San Francisco. I'm concerned about uninsurability and earthquakes in this area. So I don't know if it would be San Francisco, but I would buy a home somewhere. Now, for the few $100,000 that I took out of this account to buy a home, I can't buy a home in San Francisco. So maybe San Francisco is off the radar, but maybe something an hour and a half outside of San Francisco, something in the area where I could come and visit my friends and participate in many of my favorite activities in the Bay Area. You have to remember, I've lived here for 20 years already. A lot of my life is already here. And I love San Francisco. So I would come back to the US. So I would take some money out to purchase a home or put a down payment, a significant down payment on the home. I would start collecting my Social Security. This is not inflated, so it would likely be more than this for cost of living increases and inflation. And I would up the amount of money I'm taking out of my portfolio from, well, initially what started off as 18,000 to $48,000, simply because I would no longer be teaching English abroad, bringing in some extra money there. Maybe after a decade, my YouTube channel is starting to fall off. Maybe instead of $2,000 a month, I'm just getting kind of residuals from many of my old videos. I'm only getting $1,000 a month. So I'm just going to need more income from my portfolio to sustain myself in retirement than I needed in my younger years where I was more actively working. So I would start taking money out. And at age 85, God willing, 2054, I'll be taking $81,000 a year out of my portfolio. But it sounds like a king's sum in today's dollars, but we have to remember this is inflated going forward many, many years into the future, down to 2054 with a 3% rate of inflation. I always use a 3% rate of inflation when doing retirement projections. Anything less than 3%, I don't believe is accurate. Anything greater than 3%, this retirement plan would fail. If this went to 4%, this retirement plan would fail. If this went to 5%, everybody's retirement plan is failing, and even millionaires in retirement would be living out on the street. So it's not perfect. Like I said, if it were up to me, I would not retire at 55. It will require a lot of compromises that I'm not willing to make in terms of lifestyle and living locations. I don't want to sell my home. I don't really want to go to Barcelona at this stage in life. I've done it before in the past, and I'm very comfortable here in San Francisco. But if call needs be, I could do it. I could do it. I could, sell everything, break everything down to 2 suitcases and a one-way plane ticket and go. I've done it before. I could do it again. Tell me what you think, and tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. This isn't really accurate for me because, like I said, I would sell this home that would generate more cash. There are other resources that I have, but I was up for the challenge. I wanted to see if I really could live on $500,000 retiring at age 55. I wanted to say a few words of wrap up. And once again, this is video 4 of 4. There's a sequence of videos before this. There's a lot of good financial advice, so I suggest you go back and watch some of the earlier videos. But just to recap some of the major points, If you retire at 55, you pretty much have to have a second source of income from somewhere. I don't believe in passive income as a concept. I believe all income requires work of some sort. But things like real estate, royalties, intellectual property, social media, if you have some form of income that comes in on the regular from these sources, it can make early retirement at age 55 with 500,000 feasible, possible, still not probable. But once again, I don't believe that these forms of income really are passive. Essentially, what you're doing with real estate, intellectual property, royalties, and social media, you're front loading your work. You're putting hours and hours and hours of work, and someday you'll be able to take your foot off the gas. But oftentimes, these different forms of income require some investment of time and capital, or time or capital, in order to see a return on them. Royalties and intellectual properties are their own category. Few people have royalties and intellectual properties unless you are a writer, an inventor, a singer, or someone who has that. A lot of people have real estate, but real estate requires a lot of work and a lot of capital investment. And social media, there are YouTube content creators who did retire early on 500,000 at age 55 and are making it work. And you can search those content creators and they can tell you their stories and often show you their finances. Second, sequence of withdrawal really matters. You cannot overtax a portfolio in the first 12 to 15 years of that portfolio. It collapses the portfolio really quickly when you go and you take large sums of money out in the early years. If you are going to follow this course, you really need to have a savings account that you can rely on and a plan for emergencies that doesn't overtax the portfolio in the first 12 to 15 years of retirement. Sequence of returns matter. 2008 and 2022 were big pivots in the portfolio. Whether I showed you my own portfolio or some of the examples that I showed you, you have to be prepared for these really dog markets. What are you going to do? Where are you going to get money? Are you going to take it from your portfolio? Are you going to ride it out? Have a plan of action. And the last thing is inflation really matters. Inflation really matters. You do yourself a big disservice by putting inflation at 1 or 2%. That's not reality and not going to give you a realistic outcome. Retirement planning probably should be done at 3% inflation. If you go above that, pretty much no one's retirement plan works. So you want to pay attention to inflation, and inflation does matter. So there you have it. If you found this information useful, please like, share, subscribe, and please leave your comments in the comment section. Thank you.